Hi everyone, how are you all? I hope you are all doing well. So welcome back to another video. So today in this video, I am going to discuss about the conditional sentences. So first of all, what is conditional sentence? A sentence that contains a condition is called a conditional sentence. So conditional sentences tell about the result that depend on a condition. They show cause and effect in a different time situations. For example, if this happens, that happens later. So there are five types of conditional sentences are there, such as zero conditionals, first conditionals, second conditionals, third conditionals, and mixed conditionals. So first of all, the conditional sentences have two parts, if clause and the main clause. Here you may get doubt what is if clause and what is main clause. So if itself is a condition, so it describes the result of a certain condition. When it comes to the main class it is called as a independent class. Without depending on the if class, it gives a complete meaning. So that is why it is called as a independent class. So then what is clause? So here clause means it's a group of words. It's a group of words that gives some meaning is called clause. So it contains subject and verb. It is always a part of the sentence. Here I am going to talk about each one of them and the differences between them. Now let me discuss about the zero conditionals. When it comes to the zero conditionals, it is used to discuss about the general truths and also scientific facts. The structure of the zero conditionals is if plus simple present tense, comma simple present tense. For example, if the weather is good, I go to the beach. If it rains, the grass gets wet. If you freeze water, it turns into ice. So here the if clause and also main clause both are in simple present tense. So these are all the general truths and also scientific facts. To talk about general truths and also scientific facts, we generally use zero conditionals. Now let's discuss about the first conditionals. First conditionals is used for the real possible future situations. So the structure is if plus simple present tense, comma will plus base verb. For example, if it rains, I will stay at home. In case if it rains, I will stay at home. Otherwise, I will go out to hang out with friends. So here it is telling about the future possibility. So let's see one more example. If you study well, you will pass the exam. So here, if you don't study well, you will fail. Of course, you may pass the exam by copying or by doing something else. If you really study well, you will pass the exam. Otherwise, you will fail. Let's see one more example. If the weather is good, I will go to the beach. There is no rule, there is no certainty. I am just saying, if the weather is good, I will go to the beach. Otherwise, I won't go. So, in these conditionals, the action in the main clause is a real possibility if the condition is fulfilled. Now, let me discuss about the second conditionals. When it comes to the second conditionals, it is used to express hypothetical or else unlikely situations in the present or future. It is used when the condition is imagined or improbable. The structure is if plus simple past tense, comma would plus base verb. For example, if I were rich, I would travel to the Paris. So here the sentence is a imaginary situation. But here I am imagining myself that if I were rich, if something had happened in the past, in some condition in the past tense, then it would lead to different result in the present. So in these sentences, the if clause uses the simple present tense and the main clause uses the would plus infinitive or else would plus present tense. So here what is an infinitive? The infinitive is the base form of the verb or else first form of the verb, typically preceded by the word to, such as to run, to eat, to speak. So these are all the infinitive words. For example, if I didn't have a car, I would cycle to work. So here to work is the infinitive word. So let's see some more examples. If I had a big house, I would grow a lot of flowers in the garden. If I had a car, I would drive it to the work. Here, these two sentences are telling about the imaginary situations. So, here I am imagining myself that if I had a big house, if I had a car, so here I am expecting to fulfill all my wishes in the present or else in the future. In this second conditional, we should remember one thing. When using the second conditional with the subjects I, we, you, they, he, she, it, we should use were instead of was to express imaginary situations. So let's see the difference. If I were a rich, I would travel to the Paris. So as for the grammar, this is the imaginary situation. So this is the correct sentence. For example, if I use was instead of were, that is the wrong sentence. If I was a rich, I would travel to the Paris. So as for the grammar, this is the incorrect sentence. We use was for the past potentially real situations. For example, if I was tired, I went home. So this is the real situation which happened in the past. As same as in second conditionals, sometimes we can use would plus present continuous tense. For example, if I spoke German, I would be living in a Germany. So in this sentence, the if class is in simple past tense and the main class is used with the present continuous tense. In this sentence, living is the present continuous tense and would is always there in the main class as the situation is imaginary. Now let me discuss about the third conditionals. When it comes to the third conditionals, it tells about the situations that did not happen in the past and their possible outcomes if the condition had been met. These conditions are purely hypothetical and are impossible to change because they refer to past actions. So the structure is if plus past perfect tense, comma would have plus past participle. For example, if I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam. Here the sentence is telling about the imaginary and also impossible situation in the past. So here the situation did not happen in the past and also it's too late to change it. So the situation is telling about if I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam. So in the past, I did not study properly, so that is why I did not pass the exam. So it is impossible to change it because the situation already happened in the past. So let's see one more example. If I had known you were feeling bad, I would have visited you. So here someone is feeling bad. So this is also unreal situation. So here I am imagining, repenting and also thinking about the past situation which did not happen. So if I had done something different in the past, I think some other results would have happened in the past. So let's see one more example. If she had known your phone number, she would have called you. In this sentence, the if class is in past perfect tense and the main class has used with would have plus past participle. So here what is the past participle? It is the third form of the verb called, eaten, run, spoken. So these are all the past participles. Now let's move on to the mixed conditionals. So when it comes to the mixed conditionals are made by mixing up the second and third conditionals. So this is the table of a second and third conditionals. So now we take the if class from one and mix it up with the main class from the other one. Now let's see them one by one. So there are two types of mixed conditionals are there. So type 1 and also type 2. Now let's see the structure for type 1 mixed conditionals. So the structure of if class is if plus simple past tense, but for the main class is would have plus past participle. For example, if I were rich, I would have lived in France. So in these conditionals, the if class is from the second conditional and for the main class is from the third conditionals. So this is again unreal. So I am not rich. I don't live in a France. So now let's see one more example. If I didn't have a school, I would have come to your house. So this is one type of mixed conditional. So now let's see the second type of mixed conditionals. So the structure for the second type of mixed conditionals is, so the structure of the if class is if plus past perfect tense, and for the main class is would plus infinitive. So let's see the example. If I had taken my umbrella, I would not be sick today. So in this conditional, the if class is from the third conditionals, and for the main class is from the second conditionals. So in this sentence, I am repenting over the past situation. So here it is telling about the past regression. Now let's see one more example. If we had used GPS, we would not be lost right now. So in this conditional, in reality we are lost, but we are regretting over the decision of not using the GPS. Now let's discuss the overview of the conditionals. So this is just an overview about the conditionals. So let's get into more details. So here you should remember one thing. In the zero and first conditionals, the if class is in the simple present tense, and for the second conditionals, the if class is in the past tense, and for the third conditionals, the if class is in the past perfect tense. So this is the clue. So once you see the if clauses in the sentences, so you can easily get a good idea, as well as you can easily identify the tense, which condition it is already. Now let's discuss about the punctuation marks. So how they can be used in the conditionals. In the conditionals, after the if class, we generally put a comma. After the main class, we put a full stop. It can be reversed also. When we change the class place, when we put the main class first and also if class later, so a comma doesn't require. For example, if it rains, comma, the grass gets wet. So when we change the class place, when we put the main class first and also if class later, so we no need to mention the comma. For example, the grass gets wet if it rains. So here comma is not required when we change the class place. Now look at the main class of each conditionals. Basically, if you see an if class is in the simple present tense, so the moment you see that, you know it's either a zero conditionals or else first conditionals. But if you see a will or modal verb is in the main class, it's a first conditionals. If you see would in the second conditionals, whereas would plus have in the third conditionals, so you can easily get a good idea which condition it is already. But the models also can be used, but the same logic will apply. For example, if you use should in the second conditionals, so you have to use should plus have in the third conditionals. So as same as shall have, could have, might have, must have. So all these models also can be used in the conditionals, but the same logic will apply. So what is the difference between the zero and first conditionals as well as second and third conditionals? So zero and first conditionals tells about the real truths as well as real possibilities. But for the second and third conditionals tells about the situations which are unreal, impossible and also imaginary. So the main difference between the second and third conditionals is the time frame. So the second conditionals discusses about the unreal or imaginary situations in the present or else future. For example, if I had $1,000,000, I would travel to the many places. So here it's a future imagination. So I don't have $1,000,000. So I'm not going to travel to the many places. But I am expecting to fulfill my wish in the future or else at the moment. The third conditionals discusses about the unreal or imaginary situations in the past. For example, if I had won the lottery last year, I would have bought a big house. Here it's a past regression. Situation is telling about the past regression. So I did not win the lottery last year. So I did not buy a house. But here I am regretting about the past situation which did not happen in the past. So to master the conditionals, so tenses are very important. When you know the tenses properly, so you can make the sentences also in conditionals very easily. So regarding the tenses, I have already posted a video in my YouTube channel. So whenever you get a doubt regarding the tenses, so please go through it and also try to frame more sentences by using the tenses, and also try to use conditionals also in your daily English. So then only it is very easy to frame sentences as well as to speak good in English. So that's all about this video. If you like this video, please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. I hope you will find this video helpful. So thank you so much for watching this video.